We want to think about those practices that we already do, what we do exceptionally well, and then how we can institutionalize them. But then also, what practices can we implement or institutionalize that will not only have a high impact on the students in terms of learning, but that will have a high impact on the world. And so that's the challenge that is before us now, to begin to think about how can we define what we do on our own terms, and then how can we make sure that we are preparing our students to make this tremendous impact on the world to help meet our mission. So this picture actually is a picture of about 20 or 30 of the students who participated in the award ceremony for the Common Text practice, which is, of course, one of the things that we'll talk about. What are high impact practices? So that's our first question, essentially. The Association of American Colleges and Universities, or AAC&U, describes high impact practices as teaching and active learning practices that have high impacts on students or student learning. It increases their retention and engagement, and it facilitates greater personal development. And so, as a function of these high impact practices, part of the research suggests that it has a particular impact on retention and student involvement for African American students. But some of the other findings are very interesting, and I'll talk about those in a little bit as it relates to race and underrepresented students. The National Leadership Council for Liberal Education and America's Promise, or LEAP, identified the practices in an effort to meet the unique needs of a new generation of students. So part of the challenge that we see now is this idea of this new generation of students, right? So we know that that means the students write in shorthand, they talk in shorthand, they think that they can write a paper using text message format, but also that's our challenge, for instance. But part of the challenge that we see the folks at LEAP and AAC&U grappling with is, what do we do with these students who aren't traditional students? So they're beginning to ask questions that we started to answer in 1867. We're 100 years plus ahead of the curve in this regard, and so you'll hear me talk a little bit more about that as well. The National Survey of Student Engagement data is used for the LEAP practices, and it suggests that students report experiences with deep approaches to learning. So having experiences that create deep meaning for students is one of the things that will have the highest impact on students. So what does it mean to practice deep learning, that have deep approaches to learning? Integrating ideas and diverse perspectives. All right, check. We do that. Discussing ideas with faculty and peers outside of class. And we've heard any number of people say any number of times, as much instruction goes on at Howard after 6 o'clock in Blackburn as happens within the classroom. So the student organizations, the programs that they participate in, will have a tremendous impact on them as well. Analyzing and synthesizing ideas, check, we do that. Applying theories, check, we do that. Judging the value of information in one's own views. Okay, so we do all of these things that LEAP is discovering are deep approaches or create deep meaning for students or help students to engage completely. Their primary publication is George Q's High Impact Educational Practices. What are they, who has access to them, and why they matter? And then a literature review that begins to focus specifically on the implications of high impact practices to underrepresented students is in that literature review. And when it's posted online, you can take a look at those. There's a short chapter on 5 of the practices that they take a look at.